Ah yes, old America. For decades and decades, and upon a century, foreign fighters from all over made the voyage to prove their worth. This is a video going through the most impressive US debuts in boxing. With that being said, let's start the video. Dmitry Bivol, a well-decorated amateur who made his voyage rather quickly to the States in his fourth pro bout to fight Felipe Romeo. Bivol put on a dominating performance, showcasing good technique, fundamentals, and most importantly, patience round after round, to where he get the stoppage in the 8th and final round. Even though it looks great blowing through your early opponents, it can also do a lot of harm to an early career when fighters begin to step up in competition and they figure out they can't get the fighter out of there in the first 3 rounds, and you really start to see a lot of cracks in that fighter's game as the fights go on. I think the best recent example is with Edgar Berlanga. After going through perfectly tailored opponents who were meant to fall and create highlight reels, Berlanga's first ranked opponent, just shy of the top 50 ranks, he takes to the distance. Since all eyes are on him now due to the network's push and some things he said himself, he now has to pick up the pieces, making up for the rounds he could have gotten precious experience in against non-ranked and top 200 ranked opponents. Now has to do that and learn quickly up against the top 50 ranked opponents for regional belts, and so far it has not looked pretty. At strawweight, Roman Gonzalez was a monster, who would become the strawweight champion in 2008 against WBA champ Yutaka Nida. He would make 3 defenses before moving up and capturing an interim title to set himself up to become a 2-division champion. With the record of 29-0 in his second defense, he was up against Omar Soto in Las Vegas, Nevada. By this point, Roman has mostly fought in Nicaragua, Japan, and Mexico. A little bit of drama coming into the fight as Soto came in 3.5 pounds overweight. The fight would go on and Roman would make easy work of Soto, putting him away in the second round. By this point, Golovkin had fought most of his career in Germany. His move to America was the most necessary due to the way he was being promoted. For a world champion, it seemed like he was being under-promoted. HBO really rolled the dice here with this, greenlighting the broadcast to this fight, because Golovkin was virtually unknown to American audiences. Maybe Proska, who was a top middleweight at that time, and he beat former champion Sebastian Sylvester. Shoot, I don't even know by this point. Golovkin had an incredible amount of pressure to deliver big against Proska. This main event was a risk to boxing after dark standards.
Now making his American TV debut, he not only has to win, but has to win big against the guy who it's not so easy to win against in the first place.
Which is wild to think because that's the purpose of BAD, which is to throw risky cards with a low budget. They're like the Canon films of boxing. If Boxing After Dark is the Canon films of boxing, this fight is equivalent to American Ninja. Golovkin delivered and then some right at the opening bell.
From Golovkin, and Proxa gets hurt. Down he goes. First time in his career he's been down as an amateur or a pro.
Then to beautifully finish off Proska in the 4th round, spawning a successful career in America.
Here you see a guy combine the natural heavy hand.
Good left hand to the body and left to the head. Down goes Proxa.
Yes, it is. And he's still giving us all he has.
Oh, right hand hurt Proxa. Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. How tough is Proxa? No, the referee stops it.
Guys, Proxa.
Quite a bit of hype coming in for Amir Khan after he came back after his loss, to team up with Freddie Roach and conditioning coach Alex Ariza. That would go on a full showcase against WBA champion Andreas Kotelnik, putting on one of his best performances of his career, completely shutting him out for 12 rounds.
This is an excellent start from him. really is boxing beautifully here. He's showing the grit that we need to see from him in this round. This is real good stuff from Khan.
He might be younger, he might be fresher, but he's outclassing a high-class technician. As the seconds tick away, the jab comes out again, which has been brilliant. A terrific technical performance from Amir Khan, who followed the game plan.
After a first-round TKO victory against Dmitry Salita to end off the 2009 year, Khan was primed to start the 2010 year off, making his US debut in New York City against Brooklyn native Paulie Malignaggi. Coming into 2010, Amir Khan was ranked number 2 and Paulie was ranked number 5 in the world. Paulie just coming off a win against Juan Diaz in their rematch. Paulie, who was a relatively fast fighter, was no match for Khan, who ran circles around him. In retrospect, looking at Malignaggi's fights against fast-handed opponents such as Adrian Broner and Juan Diaz, in comparison, it's shocking how fast Khan was against him. Khan would shut Paulie out on the scorecards and get the stoppage in the 11th round. Arthur Abraham was a straight beast at middleweight. He was big for the division, barely making the 160-pound limit, and packed some serious punching power. Taylor would vacate shortly after dethroning Bernard Hopkins, in which Abraham would win the IBF title December of that year. Abraham would go on to make 7 defenses at IBF crown. His final 4 defenses were by KO. In his American debut, he was set to face rival Edison Miranda. Miranda was the only fighter at that time to give the boogeyman of the division, Abraham, a run for his money. Miranda breaking Arthur's jaw in the 4th round. Abraham really digging deep with his swollen jaw, and luck on his side with several point deductions against Miranda, which were clear fouls. Abraham barely scraped away with a victory. The rematch was at a catchweight of 166. The fight would start off in Miranda's favor.
Fall apart after 6 or 7 rounds. If that doesn't happen, maybe and still astonished that the Miranda couldn't drop Abraham. Doesn't want to be deep in the corner. Half hook, half uppercut by Miranda. Miranda again taking Abraham into the corner.
And like in the first fight, Miranda will have problems keeping his punches up, landing a massive low blow on Abraham. The 3rd round, Abraham would find his rhythm and come out winning the 3rd. The 4th round, Miranda was firing away without a response from Abraham, who remained in a defensive position for a good 20 seconds till he got Edison's timing down and cracked him with the first shots of the round, dropping Miranda. Abraham will follow through and drop Miranda again with a perfect left hook. Shortly after the 2nd knockdown, Abraham will close the show and get the TKO victory. Oddly enough, Maidana fought most of his career in both Argentina and Germany prior to his US debut. He had 6 fights in Germany. Maidana was coming off a highway robbery against Andreas Kotelnik for the WBA title. For his US debut, he would be matched up against highly regarded prospect Victor Ortiz. Maidana was ranked number 2 by the WBA, number 9 by Ring Magazine. Ortiz was ranked number 3 by the WBA, and unranked by Ring Magazine. When I say he's unranked by Ring Magazine, that means he's not in the top 10 by that publication. Ortiz would start quick, dropping Maidana in the 1st round.
Counter right, and then Ortiz drops Maidana.
Not paying attention to Maidana, he would get knocked down himself literally a couple seconds after the fight resumed.
Ortiz gets dropped from a big right hand.
Ortiz seemed to have picked it back up in the 2nd round, dropping Maidana twice, but he didn't get him out of there, and he had expended way too much energy. It was downhill from there, and Maidana, the much more experienced and fresher fighter, would take over and get the stoppage in the 6th round.
Is in big trouble, and he goes down. They're going to stop him because of that cut.
Those who followed the lower weight classes. Former WBC champion Sirsikitsur Rungvisai was one of the best and feared fighters in the weight class. The ignorant fans who don't follow the lower weight classes saw Rungvisai as a cherry pick despite being a former champ and the current mandatory for almost 3 years. They saw him as a bum who pads his record, not knowing this is quite common in Thailand, as it's a great way to stay busy, sharp year-round, and get paid for it because not every fighter has the privilege to fight once a year and wait around for that call-up for a big fight. It's pretty sad fans would demonize a fighter for doing his job as a boxer, fighting full-time in the ring, something that was once common in the 50s and back compared to the modern boxer who's active seasonally. It's pretty hypocritical. The fight fans that claim to hate on boxing today and praise boxing back then will put down a fighter from one of the very few countries to still partake in boxing culture from the old school. Yeah, the fighters back in the day for the most part fought the best, but you think a guy like Archie Moore with 200 plus fights is fighting prospects, contenders, and champs every fight? Absolutely not. Moore won the light heavyweight title in 1954. He will make 2 defenses the following year. He fought 11 times in 1956, and out of those 11, 1 was a title fight, and 1 was against a popular pro wrestler on his boxing debut. Anyways, general public was sleeping on Rungvisai so bad that Rungvisai's rival, and who you can say avoided fighting him, Carlos Cuadras, came out warning the public this is a very tough fight for the pound-for-pound star Roman Gonzalez. From the start of the bell, it was apparent that Rungvisai was not no pushover, dropping Gonzalez for the first time in 10 years. Gonzalez should find his rhythm and even up the scorecards and possibly be ahead by a round or 2 at the halfway point, but it came at a price as Roman had expended a lot of energy to try and get Rungvisai out of there in the 5th and 6th round. Rungvisai would tighten things up and the fight could go either way in the championship rounds. Rungvisai would win by a very close majority decision. He would go on to win the rematch, but despite all of that, HBO's 2017 year-ender recap, they still didn't give Rungvisai the credit he deserved.
Was there a style advantage for the Thai fighter that we may have overlooked going into the first fight?
No, I don't think so. I think that he didn't really knock Chocolatito out. Not to take anything away from Rungvisai, I guess I just did. But he knocked out the remains of Chocolatito.
And claimed that Gonzalez was a shot fighter that reached his pinnacle and his motivation coming into the rematch wasn't there.
Why does the decision going the wrong way affect the fighter psychologically like that in a fight he really won? Because that was a big part of his boxing identity. I don't think the motivation was there the same way, and I have to think it's a result of the loss of the undefeated record. The technical loss of the undefeated record in a fight he really won, because the guy saw up to fight in the rematch. That wasn't him.
What's he got to do to conquer America, to capture the hearts? I mean, he's got to win, hasn't he, this one?
He basically has to do one thing, win. And probably win big.
Absolutely ridiculous amount of hype around Prince Naseem Hamed due to his style and flamboyant persona, but just like the type of hot new computer tech that was coming out in the 90s and 2000s. Everyone would say, yeah, that's cool and all, but can it run Doom? For Hamed, can he do all that and then some in America against our top fighter? Yeah, you beat our guy, #1 ranked Tom Johnson, but that was in the UK, so that doesn't matter. You gotta come here to America, the mecca of boxing. And then, and I mean then, we just may say you're the best. The hype for this matchup, especially in the featherweight division, was incredible. There are very few fights where you are guaranteed your money's worth the minute it's announced.
We got a little Kevin Kelly fan here. What's going to happen?
My school today. He was in my school, and I know this guy. He's gonna beat the Prince's ass. He's a wise guy.
It's rare to come by, and both guys came to win and did not disappoint. 6 total knockdowns split between the two.
Kelly is unable to solve, but down goes the Prince on Kelly's first serious landed punch. A looping right hand put Hamed down. What happened would be that the Prince was exposed as a fraud. His gloves touched the canvas.
I think the mistake he made, there we saw it, right there.
There's the power. There's the power you were talking about.
Hamed would come out the victor with a KO in the 4th round to successfully defend his title for the 9th time, in the featherweight division's equivalent to Hagler versus Hearns.
Taking some leather in return. Down goes Kelly on 2 hard left hands. Leaping right hand by the Prince. Ooh. And a hard left. And Kelly's down for the 3rd time.
Whoa!
The country is Sweden, not really known for boxing. You can pretty much count in your hand the amount of world-class fighters that has spawned from there. But Amir Johansson put Sweden on the map in the boxing world. After being convinced to go pro after contemplating on leaving boxing after the Olympics, he would swiftly rise through the ranks, capturing the EBU title, defeating several ranked fighters to make number 7 in the Ring Magazine rankings by February 1957. 1958 would be his most successful year despite his rank dropping to number 10 February of that year. His final fight that would become Sweden's most attended boxing fight, Johansson would knock out number 1 rank Eddie Maken in the first round to earn the shot to fight heavyweight champion Floyd Patterson. Eddie was the best contender at heavyweight, defeating Nino Valdez twice, Joey Maxim twice, and coming to a draw with the number 2 ranked Zora Foley. This win was so impressive that Ring Magazine named Johansson 1958 Fighter of the Year. Johansson, with the record of 21-0, would shock the world, stopping the 5-1 betting favorite Floyd Patterson in the 3rd round to become the heavyweight champion. Johansson would make the front page of Sports Illustrated with the title "The Right That Rocked the Sports World." Johansson, for the 2nd year in a row, would be named Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year. Despite losing, Patterson was the best candidate to make history to become the first fighter to regain the heavyweight title as the 4-1 betting favorite, and he did in beautiful fashion, knocking Johansson out in the 6th round to recapture the title.
Round 5. And there it goes! 8, 9, and boxing history is made! Boxing history is made!
Patterson will be named Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year for such an unprecedented achievement. Not only this was Pacquiao's US debut, but his HBO debut as well. After a lot of wasted time with American promotions, Murad Muhammad, the only guy that delivered to get Pacquiao into position for a big fight.
And they gave me the opportunity to sit there and watch Manny Pacquiao. And I saw fighters falling. It was unbelievable, but I couldn't see the punch. I said, this is my kind of fighter. So I didn't want to hear anything else. I wanted Manny Pacquiao.
Pacquiao was virtually unknown at the time by Western audiences. His team still did not have the best confidence in Murad, but it was their last opportunity, so they gave him a chance and signed a 1-year deal.
Well, Murad, I've been here for 2 years and I'm disgusted. I mean, what could you do for me? I said, I pull miracles. He laughed about that. I said, you signed with me, I make your fighter rich and I make you rich.
The timing really couldn't have been any more perfect, and he sure did make a miracle happen, as number 7 ranked Manny Pacquiao by default earned the shot to fight Ledwaba, as all the rest of the opponents ranked above him were not available to fight Ledwaba on a 2 weeks notice. Keep in mind, this was 4 days after Manny had signed with Muhammad.
4 days later, Lamomo from South Africa, his opponent fell out. I knew then time to move Manny Pacquiao in. So when I called the IBF, they said, wait a minute, you're only number 7 in the world. I said, yes, but if you check number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6, they're not available. So we are the lead available contender. You're right. And that's how we got the shot. So Rod Nazaro said, my God, you do pull miracles. 4 days after signing, we're fighting for a world title.
This was Ledwaba's 6th title defense. He was ranked number 3 in the world, and Manny came in as a 10-1 underdog, according to an article by Philstar Global back in 2003 in the lead up to Pacquiao's fight with Marco Antonio Barrera. Pacquiao would shock many and annihilate Ledwaba, dropping him 3 times before the fight was stopped in the 6th round to pick up the IBF Super Bantamweight title.
I had never seen him. I frankly had never heard of him, but I've seen and heard of him now.
And you want to see him again.
I want to see him again.
I do too.
Martinez was a rather late bloomer, picking up boxing at the age of 20 in 1995. He would start up his pro boxing career 2 years later in 1997 and rake in 17 fights with a record of 16-0 with 1 draw, before being matched up in his US debut against the far more experienced Antonio Margarito. Margarito having the far better camp leading up to this fight, as he was Oscar De La Hoya's sparring partner. And it seemed like he was for a hot minute, because Margarito can be seen in this De La Hoya commercial as one of his acting sparring partners. Martinez would get dropped in the first round, and the bigger, stronger, and more experienced Margarito would slowly break Martinez down, stopping him in the closing seconds of the 7th round. Jimmy rose up through the European ranks in Denmark to land himself a shot at the EBU title against French contender Pierre Lucy, stopping him in the 11th round. This would set up a fight against WBO super featherweight champion Daniel Landis from France. Jimmy would beat Landis by majority decision to become the WBO champ in his 13th pro bout. A year and a half and a title defense later, Jimmy made the brave voyage over to the US in his debut against a mean 21-year-old Oscar De La Hoya. This was Oscar's first title fight in his career, and he was 11-0 at that time. Oscar would knock him down in the second half of the first round to finish it big. Bredahl did have success in the second round, buckling Oscar, which would go shortly lived, as that very same round Oscar would make him pay, dropping him just moments later. Jimmy would not give up, putting up a valiant effort, but Oscar just way too much for him. After a brutal 10th round resulting in the third knockdown of the fight, despite Jimmy pleading with the doctor that he can finish the fight to make it to a decision, the ringside doctor did not want to take the risk and possibly ruin the young fighter's career, and he advised the referee to stop the fight, resulting in a 10th round TKO win for Oscar. Hassam Endam pretty much fought all of his career in France. After some strange events under the WBA, as he was the interim middleweight champion, I just can't find any notes where and why he didn't get a shot at the WBA title, but okay, whatever. Endam got the opportunity to fight for the WBO interim title against undefeated Ukrainian Bursak to win wide on the scorecards. Now the events here that take place would also be odd. WBO orders Pirog versus Endam, but Pirog goes ahead to set up a fight with Gennady Golovkin. Pirog is stripped of the title, but instead of fighting someone for the vacant WBO title, Endam was just given it, and now Endam is set to face Peter Quillin on his US and Showtime debut in New York City. This was also the first boxing event held in the newly built Brooklyn Barclays Arena. Both Quillin and Endam came in undefeated with the identical record of 27-0. This would be Quillin's best performance up to date, dropping Endam not once, not twice, but 6 times. Somehow Endam was able to lose by a 12-round unanimous decision, which you could say that's somewhat of a win there, but he didn't come out with that W. Robert Helenius, who was hopeful to one day fight for the title, but had some setbacks, losing to Dupas, which Dupas went on to fight Wilder, and a huge loss against Dylan White. Robert would bounce back and pick up an IBF Intercontinental title, earning number 6 in the IBF rankings in February of 2019. He was set to face former contender Gerald Washington, who was 1-3 in the past year and a half. 3 out of those losses were quite brutal. This would be a rather even fight that would come to a dramatic end. In the 8th round, Washington would get him with a perfect 1-2 which buckled him, and then followed up with a combination that will lay him out. Surprisingly, it did not look all too hard compared to Washington's earlier 1-2 combination. Helenius was unable to make the count, resulting in a KO victory for Washington, putting him back in the mix for a title elimination fight. There's quite a bit of buzz behind Eubank Jr. that was finally starting to make some waves across the Atlantic, making news, calling out Gennady Golovkin, Canelo, and most notably training under the tutelage of Roy Jones Jr. It was Eubank Jr.'s time to shine in his US debut against former contender Mate Korobov for the WBA interim title. This was a perfect opponent for Eubank Jr. to show off what he's made of, because Korobov just came off a loss against Charlo in which gave Jamal a lot of trouble. Well, Eubank didn't really get to show off to the Americans what he really could do against Korobov, as the fight came to a sudden end, and the second due to a freak shoulder injury resulting in a Eubank Jr. TKO. Chris did get the win, but this was also a loss as well. Adonis Stevenson fought all of his fights in Canada, moving up the ranks and picking up the WBC regional belt, being ranked number 11 by the WBC. So from the mid-2000s and on to the 2010s, the best fighter, and you can still say the best today, to test your fighter out from 168 to 174 was against Darnell Boone. Darnell is equivalent to Emmanuel Augustus. He is the ultimate journeyman, the ultimate gatekeeper of those two weight classes. To give you a list prior to this fight, Darnell had already faced Andre Ward, which he dropped him, Enrique Ornelas, John Pascal, Curtis Stevens, Brian Vera, Craig McGuinn, Arislandi Laura, and Edwin Rodriguez. Please keep in mind, I name all these fights in order. And from Craig McGuinn to Edwin Rodriguez, Boone fought all of them barely 1 month apart from each other. 3 fights in 3 months against blue chip prospects. Holy crap. Boone was literally training himself at the time when he was called on a 2 weeks notice to fight Stevenson. Boone took the fight just because he knew Stevenson didn't have what it took to win. In Boone's own words, he stated, "By him being 13-0, I just figured he couldn't be that experienced, so I took the fight. I didn't know nothing about him," end quote. Now this fight was on Showtime, and no such broadcast footage exists, but very low quality home video did, which was smudged off the internet for many years. Copies of that home video was re-uploaded, but it was in even worse quality. Now, a little over 4 years ago, the home video would resurface, and this time being in far superior quality than what was originally uploaded back in the day. So Boone does what he's good at, which is giving fighters rounds and helping promotions find out if that fighter is ready to move on up. Let's roll the piece of this lost media. Now, in the world of boxing lost media, a particular fight many hardcore boxing fans have been trying to search for is Darnell's fight with Sergey Kovalev. Now, I was told by Evan Holyfield in a comment section of a post, this tape exists, and he saw this tape with his own eyes. Now, that is a fight I would love to see. After Robinson won the middleweight title in 1951, he would have 2 non-title bouts to make an announcement saying he is entitled to a vacation and he will be doing a European tour. So pretty much it was a lot of partying in between 6 fights in less than 2 months. Robinson's fight in Germany ended in a disqualification in the second round for an illegal kidney shot. After the fight, the German Boxing Commission swiftly overruled it to a no contest. After the 6th fight in Italy, the 7th fight was a title fight against the British and EBU champion Randy Turpin from Great Britain. Turpin would shock many, upsetting Robinson to become the middleweight champion. There will be an immediate rematch, and the rematch would take place in New York, making it Randy's first fight in America.
I can't tell you just how much I appreciate this presentation and being back here with you. Well, I just don't know what to say really, but when I do go to America, I can assure you that I shall be 100% fit when I go in the ring. And I'm confident myself that I shall return to England, still the middleweight championship in the world.
Well, so far so good from Randy, in which he had cut Ray and was up on the scorecards. The ref was threatening to stop the fight due to his cut. Ray told the ref to give him 1 more round, in which he did. Ray would stop Randy that very same round to reclaim the middleweight championship. Before we get back to the video, YouTube stay tripping with this algorithm thing. If it ain't getting a certain amount of likes and comments, they ain't pushing it to the rest of the good old subscribers. And unfortunately, folks don't see till days, sometimes weeks later. 1 like helps the good folks out there. This week's comment section discussion topic is, what was your first introductory to boxing? Your first welcome to boxing moment? My moment didn't take place really till years later when I started working fights. It was the second fight I ever shot ringside at. It was during Canelo Smith. Yep, that's me right there in the Harambe t-shirt. I actually dedicated that shoot to Harambe. Not joking, true story. Anyways, this moment happened during the Jojo Diaz against the Andrew Cancio fight. Diaz had split Cancio's nose wide open, and it was the worst I've ever seen in person. Jojo had landed this beautiful shot in Cancio, and my gosh, the largest globs of blood and cartilage flew right at me. Got on my lens, on my camera, and the biggest glob out of them all flew right in my eye, blinding my left eye. All the OG photographers at ringside fell out laughing because they knew I was a new guy, and Hogan, a very great, well-respected boxing photographer, let off a chuckle and said, "Welcome to boxing, kid." Well, that was my moment. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and let's get back to the video. In mid-2015, I did a video about boxers to keep an eye out on, pretty much a list of what Westerners would find very obscure. Jeff Horn was on that list of fighters. After numerous regional belt fights, Horn landed himself a mega fight against Manny Pacquiao for the WBO title, which crazy enough he had the rare privilege of fighting Manny in his backyard of Australia. Horn will upset Manny. A fair amount of folks would find the decision controversial. ESPN did score it pretty wide in Manny's favor, but the commentary to the fight ignored a lot of the work that Horn put in, which played into the narrative that this fight was a shutout performance by Manny. Bob Sheridan from the international broadcast scored it 114-113 for Manny Pacquiao. CBS Sports had it a draw. I like Manny, I was rooting for him that fight, but when I was watching it live that night, I thought it was incredibly close and he needed to do something big to get that extra insurance of a decision, which he did. I had him by a smidge, but again, it all depends what the judges are looking for. I give it that on a personal note. The 117-111 card was pretty awful. Now, Horn became a hero overnight in Australia and public enemy number one across the Pacific. Just a year later, Horn was set up to fight former undisputed junior welterweight champion Terence Crawford. Crawford, who was a big junior welterweight and also a big welterweight, didn't fall for Horn's sneaky traps, outworked him even when Horn was trying to outwork Crawford, to where in the 8th round, he caught Horn with a beautiful combination, hurting him and just gets pummeled by one of the best finishers in the sport. Horn barely makes it out the round and Crawford wastes no time in the 9th by dropping Horn and then finishing him off moments later. There was an immense amount of hype around Anthony Joshua, which was well deserved, beating Dylan White, Charles Martin for the belt, Klitschko, Parker, and Povetkin, collecting the WBA, WBO, IBF, and IBO titles. Now, I've mentioned this quite a bit in the past with Joshua's sudden direction after the Klitschko fight, where he was looking far more muscular. On top of that, he wasn't using his God-given range. The Povetkin fight foreshadowed what's to come in the next fight, which was against Big Baby Miller, but due to a failed drug test, Andy Ruiz was a last-minute replacement. Keep in mind, Ruiz was in camp for a call-up. He was in great shape. This isn't a Darnell Boone situation here. It's more of a Pacquiao-led Waba. Pacquiao was already in camp. He had just signed a 1-year deal with Murad Muhammad. Muhammad was able to get Pacquiao a title fight 4 days after signing to him to fight Ledwaba on a 2 weeks notice.
4 days later, Lamomo from South Africa, his opponent fell out. I knew then time to move Manny Pacquiao in. So when I called the IBF, they said, wait a minute, you're only number 7 in the world. I said, yes, but if you check number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6, they're not available. So we are the lead available contender. You're right. And that's how we got the shot. So Rodney's there said, my God, you do pull miracles. 4 days after signing, we're fighting for a world title.
With the hype surrounding you and you're making your US debut, it's a mandatory to deliver big or it'll shatter whatever the public thinks of you in the States. Like the NFL channel, Flemo Raps would say, the man had won a genetic lottery. When it comes to size, when it comes to range, this man won the genetic lottery, and for some reason, this guy does not use any of that and wants to fight perfectly within the range of Ruiz, who for heavyweight standards has T-Rex arms. Joshua with his long arms, all in Ruiz's range. Unless Ruiz has Alfredo Angulo hand speed, 10 times out of 10, his shot is going to connect before Joshua's, which once Ruiz did get into that position, the fight was a wrap, and Ruiz would stop Joshua in the 7th round to become the champion and make history. This loss really stuck with Joshua, and from the American perspective, it raised high doubt that he was even able to win the rematch. I was talking to a representative of Ring Magazine backstage on the Canelo Kovalev fight week, and his response was he didn't see Joshua winning, and he's finished. Despite my talking points in regards of Joshua not using his range, and him getting more lean and shredding off that unnecessary muscle for the rematch. In the rematch, he used his range, and due to all the unnecessary muscle he shredded off, he was a lot more flexible. He didn't seem so tensed up and stiff. Joshua's speed and agility was a bit heightened by comparison due to Andy Ruiz coming in 15 pounds heavier in the rematch. He was 268 in the first fight and 283 in the rematch, his career high being 297 and 292. Joshua will win the rematch by a wide margin, but despite Joshua showing another layer to his game, the damage was already done to the public opinion from Americans. The only thing I see key to fixing this is if Joshua makes a return back to America to face Deontay Wilder, a third fight with Ruiz, or maybe Jared Anderson if he gets in the ranks.